It never falls apart in one argument. It unravels through countless little moments you brushed off. The calls she didn't return, the tired excuses, the fast good nights that used to be warm but now feel like obligations. Before a woman cheats, she doesn't suddenly turn cold. She slips into neutrality. And that, right there, is the danger zone. Because neutrality is the graveyard of emotional connection. In this breakdown, I'm revealing the 10 signals that show she's already drifting away, and the mindset shift that keeps you from repeating the same heartbreak again. You didn't lose her on the day she walked out. You lost her when she no longer reached for you without you noticing. That's the part men never talk about. The gradual fade, the passive distance, the tone of her voice changing, not from tenderness, but from detachment. Men remember the official ending, but the ending always began much earlier. If you're done pretending everything is fine, hit like and subscribe to Hidden Waters. Then comment, "I choose awareness over denial." Because once you truly recognize emotional detachment, you stop asking why she left and start understanding when she checked out. Number 1, the shift in her energy. Before cheating ever crosses her mind, the first thing that changes isn't her routine, it's her emotional signature. You notice it before you can explain it. Her laugh feels forced, her replies shrink. The softness you relied on now feels scripted. Something unspoken is different, and you feel it in the pauses between her sentences. Women don't detach suddenly, they recalibrate. They match the vibe of the relationship, and when admiration fades, emotional erosion begins. She starts shaping a version of herself that doesn't orbit around you anymore. At this point, she isn't preparing betrayal, she's practicing emotional distance. Most men miss it because they view love logically. She's still around, so everything's fine. But being physically present doesn't mean she's mentally or emotionally with you. A woman can share your space while already leaving in her mind. Don't chase the quiet. Don't plead for reassurance. That only reinforces her belief that you've lost your grounding. Instead, stand firm. Watch. Reclaim your center. When you stop matching her withdrawal, you shift the dynamic from the man she's drifting from to the one she suddenly can't ignore. Number 2, the digital barrier. Her phone used to be just part of the environment. Now it's locked away like a secret. She tilts the screen, types faster when you're near, smiles at something you're not invited to see. And when you ask, she brushes it off with, "It's nothing." But you already know it's not nothing. Once emotional distance begins, walls appear where intimacy used to live. The easiest wall today is her device. It becomes her private sanctuary, somewhere she can escape expectations and rewrite her emotional narrative without you. Many men confuse secrecy with independence, but secrecy is simply distance disguised as freedom. The more she hides her phone, the less she's sharing her inner world. Don't explode. Don't demand access. That only paints you as unstable. Instead, stay calm. Pay attention. A grounded man doesn't chase shadows. He listens to the silence until it tells the truth. And when she sees your composure doesn't crack, the dynamic quietly tilts. Number 3, busy becomes her new language. Suddenly, she has endless commitments. Extra work, sudden plans, extended me time. The woman who once couldn't wait to talk now treats conversation like a chore. This isn't about schedule, it's about emotional bandwidth. Detachment needs distractions. Busyness lets her avoid confronting what she feels. Most men respond by pushing harder, trying to reclaim closeness. But the harder you chase, the quicker she escapes. Emotional distance is a trial run for separation. She's testing life without you. Stop asking for time she's not offering. Build your own life again. When you move with purpose instead of panic, she realizes the space she created doesn't liberate her. It makes her irrelevant. Number 4, The glow-up that isn't meant for you. She reinvents herself, again. New style, new routines, new energy. She's investing in herself, but you can feel it isn't to impress you. At first, you feel proud, until you realize that effort isn't pointed in your direction anymore. She's glowing now, confident and polished in a way that should make you feel like the luckiest man alive. Yet something inside you tightens. Because as bright as she looks, her shine no longer reaches you. When a woman reshapes her appearance, it's rarely random. It usually mirrors an internal shift, a quiet, emotional rewiring she's been doing behind the scenes. The physical glow is simply the surface of a deeper drift. This version of her is preparing for a life that doesn't revolve around the two of you anymore. And that's why it feels different this time. It isn't shared growth. It's quiet separation. Most men misread this as her getting herself together, but genuine self-care draws you in, not away. When she begins protecting her routines, hiding her mirror moments, keeping her transformation tucked behind closed doors, it isn't about makeup or outfits. It's about reclaiming a sense of freedom she no longer associates with you. Don't confront it. Don't panic. Don't interrogate. Watch what she stops sharing and notice who she seems to be performing for. Compliment her, absolutely, but observe where her attention goes afterward. If her evolution doesn't include you, she's already shifting her emotional orbit. Women often glow brightest right before they leave. The glow isn't betrayal, it's transition. The real question is whether you'll recognize the exit signal while it's still blinking. Then the comparisons start. Suddenly, she's mentioning a coworker with drive, a friend's husband who treats his wife beautifully, or a random man who simply understands things. The comments seem harmless, but they land like needles, small, sharp, impossible to forget. These comparisons aren't about the men she names, they're about the parts of you she misses. She's revealing the hunger she's been carrying, admiration, leadership, excitement, direction. She's reaching for the qualities you once embodied but slowly abandoned. And most men respond by arguing, defending, or shrinking. But the moment you react, you validate her dissatisfaction. You step right into the frame she's created. What she's really testing isn't your ability to compete, it's your presence. She wants to feel the pull of the man she once had to keep up with, the man who moved with purpose and intensity. Don't wrestle with the shadow of another man. Rise above it. Focus on your purpose until comparison loses its power. Attraction returns where admiration grows, and admiration always follows a man who refuses to stop evolving. Then comes the roommate phase. You share a home, share meals, share conversations, but they feel transactional. Discussions revolve around errands, bills, schedules, never emotions, never connection. You're no longer partners, you're housemates, passing each other like echoes. The teasing stops, the spark disappears, the tension evaporates, and when she looks at you, it's with the serenity of someone who's already accepted a quiet ending. This phase is dangerous because it feels peaceful. Men often mistake emotional numbness for stability, but calm with no passion is the slowest form of goodbye. When polarity dies, desire fades, and she starts craving the thrill of being noticed, touched, wanted again. Women don't walk away when things get loud. They walk away when things go silent. That's what makes this phase so deceptive. It doesn't look like conflict. It looks like drifting. Trying to fix it with gestures won't work. Flowers won't revive chemistry. What reignites connection is energy, playfulness, unpredictability, presence, the version of you that once made her feel alive. If you stay stagnant, she'll lie beside you dreaming of someone who isn't. And dreams have a habit of finding a doorway if you ignore them long enough. Then, one day, she stops feeling desired. She used to dress up for you, now she barely tries. Not because she's indifferent, but because she no longer feels seen. Her touch becomes routine, her tone grows flat, and she stops reaching for your approval because she no longer believes she has it. Female desire doesn't fade on its own. It withers when neglected. A woman's confidence flourishes when the man she loves makes her feel wanted. When that disappears, resentment takes its place. She doesn't need flattery, she needs to feel chosen. She wants to know she still matters in your eyes. And if she doesn't, she'll start imagining what it would feel like to be admired by someone who notices. Men often confuse loyalty with passion. Commitment means nothing without desire. Love needs care. Attraction needs energy. If she no longer feels desired, it's not about intimacy, it's about importance. Look at her the way you did in the beginning. Tell her she's beautiful when she isn't expecting it. Because the moment she realizes she's no longer the woman who turns your head, she'll start wondering who she turns someone else's for. And then the conflicts begin. Arguments about nothing, your tone, the dishes, the smallest habits. You find yourself walking through emotional minefields. No matter what you say, she's already decided you're wrong. And when a woman starts fighting over the details that never mattered before, she isn't hunting for solutions. She's searching for a reason to disconnect. Every argument, every exaggerated reaction, every sharp criticism becomes a way for her to validate the distance she's already created. By magnifying your mistakes, she builds a story that frees her from guilt. If she can convince herself you're the reason she's drifting, then she doesn't have to face the truth of her own withdrawal. Most men fall straight into the trap. They defend themselves, raise their tone, or try to win the argument. But the moment you get pulled into emotional turbulence, you surrender the frame. You become reactive, unstable, and easy to blame. And ironically, your defensiveness becomes more evidence in her internal case against you. What you need to understand is this: her irritation isn't the danger, her disinterest is. Anger means something in her still engages with you, but when her voice becomes controlled, detached, almost professional, that's when she's checked out. That's the tone of someone who's already made peace with leaving. When conflict becomes a daily pattern, don't match her intensity. Meet it with presence. Not emotional distance, not coldness, composure. Steady observation chokes out manipulation because it gives her nothing to push against. In relationships, the real influence doesn't belong to the loudest person in the room. It belongs to the one who refuses to be shaken. Then comes the shift most men never see coming: the sudden sweetness. Out of nowhere, she becomes thoughtful again. Her tone softens. She brings you something you like, texts you something warm, gives you attention you haven't felt in weeks. And for a moment, you think you've turned a corner. But what you're feeling isn't reconciliation. It's her guilt trying to disguise itself as affection. When a woman crosses a line in her mind, whether emotional or physical, her subconscious scrambles to balance the scale. Guilt doesn't always show up as distance. Sometimes it shows up as charm. She'll be nurturing, attentive, even romantic, not because the relationship has healed, but because she's trying to soothe the discomfort of what she's hiding. This isn't deception. It's denial dressed as effort. Men often mistake this phase for hope. They think, she's coming back to me. But real intimacy builds slowly. Guilt arrives in a rush. When affection suddenly appears right after tension, distance, or unexplained quiet, that isn't love resurfacing. It's remorse wearing a mask. Don't confront her, just watch. Authentic love is steady. Guilt is theatrical. You'll feel the difference in the timing. You'll notice the way her kindness seems disconnected from the emotional reality between you. Some apologies don't use words. They use behavior. And finally, the feeling you've been trying to ignore becomes impossible to escape. Something inside you knows. Her tone says she's fine, but her energy doesn't match. Her words line up, but her eyes don't hold you the way they did before. The pauses between conversations feel heavier than the conversations themselves. That sensation in your chest isn't insecurity, it's information. The body recognizes patterns long before the mind accepts them. Your intuition is not your enemy, it's your early warning system. Most men silence it because they don't want the truth to be real. They gaslight themselves into believing they're overthinking. But that quiet discomfort is the final signal before the emotional collapse. The difference between fear and awareness is simple. Fear reacts. Awareness watches. When something feels wrong, don't chase answers and don't accuse. Observe how her words line up with her actions. Watch the consistency. Anyone can fake affection. No one can fake alignment. Your instincts aren't there to expose her. They're there to anchor you. They remind you that desperation weakens you, but clarity strengthens you. The moment you stop trying to prove what you feel and simply acknowledge it, you gain a kind of composure that can't be manipulated. And this is where everything shifts, not in controlling what she does, but in becoming the man who shapes the environment she doesn't want to walk away from. You can't prevent betrayal by policing someone. You prevent it by creating a relationship dynamic where loyalty feels natural, not forced. Feed her emotionally in ways that remind her she's valued. Maintain the physical presence that drew her in. Lead with confidence, not fear. Keep intimacy alive with playfulness instead of obligation. Stay committed to your mission so she never forgets the caliber of man she chose. And communicate early, before silence turns into distance. These aren't tactics, they're standards. When you live this way, you don't cling to loyalty, it gravitates toward you. Because a woman doesn't cheat suddenly. She drifts first. She disconnects first. By the time the act happens, the relationship has already dissolved quietly in the background. The betrayal begins long before the moment of impact. It begins the moment her heart stops seeing you as her anchor. Those 10 signs aren't warnings meant to scare you, they're patterns meant to wake you up. Most men wait until they have proof. The wise man responds to energy. The strong man adjusts before the damage becomes permanent. Because once a woman starts fading, logic won't bring her back, but leadership might. This was never about catching her. It's about catching yourself. And that's exactly why her distance isn't random. It mirrors the shift she feels from you. When your presence weakens, she instinctively seeks the balance you no longer provide. And if you can't stay anchored when she drifts, she quietly realizes you're a man she can step away from without consequence. But when you understand what drives her pullback, the entire dynamic transforms. You stop reacting to her storms and start regulating your own. You stop clinging to the idea of loyalty and begin embodying the kind of man who earns it effortlessly. You stop trying to hold on to her and instead become the kind of presence she's afraid to lose. Because the truth is harsh but liberating. You can't control a woman's choices. You can only refine the gravity you carry. And when your character, steadiness, and self-command are undeniable, betrayal becomes unthinkable to her. That's real strength. Quiet, steady, and built from within. If this shifted something in you, pass it on. Hidden Waters is here to sharpen your awareness, not your fear. Stay focused, stay disciplined, and remember this: intuition isn't insecurity, it's your first line of protection.